a class. Well, first, before I talk about anything else, first I want to know who I'm talking to or who I'm talking with. So I need to know who among the men in this assembly are wearing kopins.
Double. You know my situation.
Who's wearing kopin?
Madhu, give up.
The ladies only wear kopins during their contamination period.
Your legs.
At least in Vedic culture.
You want chair?
No, I'm all right. I'm fine. In Vedic culture, the gopis, they don't wear underwear. They only wear underskirts. I don't know if that's still prevalent in present-day society. It's been a long time since I've been there. But in our internal bhajan, we don't wear such things. Only during our menstrual period. So, have we ascertained who we're talking to? Because otherwise there's not much use of going into any higher subject matters. First of all, we should understand what is sadhu jivan. Vrindavan life means sadhu jivan. It's not meant for comfortable life. It's meant for tapasya. This is tapalok. If the men are not wearing kopins, it means they are not sadhu. Simple as that. They haven't come to that position yet. Sadhu means kopin. The 6 Goswamis wore kopin. Otherwise, how will you control your mind? And the ladies should understand this too. They should expect, if they're married to any, then they should know whether they're married to a grihastha brahmachari or whether they're married to a griya maidi. Grihastha brahmachari means kopin. Why? Because by kopin, you control sex agitation by 50% just by wearing the kopin. That is for sadhu jivan. Marriage life means no sex life. Marriage life is for stopping sex life. It is not for going on and on and on with the nonsense. So therefore, grihastha brahmachari. For sadhu jivan, living like a sadhu. It's not that grihasthas are not supposed to live like sadhus. They have to control their senses. That is yoga. Otherwise, how are we bhakti yogis? Controlling the senses. Therefore, grihastha brahmachari. Living as a detached grihastha. Grihastha life means, first of all, how many children do you want? 1 child? 2 child? How many children can you support? How much trouble do you want to take for rearing children and all these things? One child. So do you know what Grihastha ashram means? Ashram. I'm talking about Grihastha ashram. I'm not talking about Grihamedi life. Grihamedi life means a life which is centered around sex attraction, which is just the lesbian business of the conditioned souls. Two prakritis. One copying the position, usurping the position. Oh, step aside, Krishna. Let me do it on your behalf. I'll be the husband. You don't have to bother yourself. I'll play the role on your behalf, Krishna. Disease condition. Playing husband. Do you know what it means to play husband? It means to play the protector, to play the proprietor, to play the provider, to play the controller, and to play the enjoyer. That is what it means to act as a husband. Play God. And that is the Swakiya attempt. And that is, of course, there's the Parakiya attempt. Kali Yuga, that's prevalent. So Grihastha life means, if you're going to follow Grihastha ashram, if you want to be a Grihamedi, then, do your thing and get your just rewards. Grihamedi life means repeated birth and death. There's no question about it. Either you get Krishna, or you get, should I say it? It's either Krishna or Yoni. One of the two, not both. If you want Yoni, then you get Yoni. And Yoni means, again, repeated birth and death. And along with it, disease and old age and everything that comes along with it. If you want Krishna, then you have to give up Yoni. And try to understand, Krishna is the Bhokta. We are all Prakriti. We are all the Bhoga to be enjoyed by Krishna. The illusion is that the man is thinking that he can be the husband of this so-called poor excuse of a woman in the material world. Not actually woman. Because it's the antithesis of genuine spiritual womanhood. Genuine spiritual womanhood wraps Krishna around her little finger by the influence of prema. And the antithesis of that is the false shadow reflection of womanhood in this material world, wrapping the so-called husband around the little finger by the influence of her lust, which is the diametric opposite of prema. Basically nonsense. So therefore, Grihastha ashram means stopping sex life. It is not a license for sense gratification. It's a license to go about another way of stopping sex life. It's just another way of stopping sex life. Because as long as you're absorbed in the sexual fantasies, you're not going to get Krishna. Because you can't have both. Therefore, Grihastha ashram means that there is association, so-called man and woman, your quota, which is all an illusion. Man is thinking that he can be the proprietor of this illusory form of a woman, and the woman is in so much illusion that she's thinking that this hulking excuse of a so-called man which is not at all a man, because this body is made of Prakriti. Prakriti is female. There's an illusory form of manhood, but that illusion means that which it is not. It is not a man. It is female. It is Prakriti in every respect. Prakriti inside, Prakriti outside. There isn't anything but female happening. Only Krishna's the male. He's the Purusha. He's the Ishwar. He's the protector. He's the provider. He's the enjoyer. He's the proprietor. And anything else other than that conception is sheer illusion. It has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. Therefore, in the Grihastha ashram is simply that there's a regulative process for stopping sex life. The regulative process is that sex life is only meant for procreation of God-conscious children. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the great exemplar for all the Grihasthas, they always give the excuse that, oh, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Well, I'll tell you what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that association with one's wife is not an anga of devotional service. It is not an anga of devotional service. It is only meant for maintaining attachment to the Grihastha ashram. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Hridoy Grantha. Hard knot. That is what association with the wife is for. To tighten the knot of attachment to the Grihastha ashram. So therefore, it must be limited. And the limitation is this. I'll spell it out graphically. Don't mind. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But graphically, I'll spell it out what it's really all about. Because the whole thing is to stop sex life so that you can begin to make some advancement in Krishna consciousness. Begin. Without stopping sex life, there's no question of even beginning to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sex life is limited to this. When the wife is at her most fertile period, which is just after her contamination period. There's 7 days, not 5 days, 7 days when the wife is considered completely contaminated according to Garuda Purana. Then between the 8th day, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, up to 16th day, if you do Garbhadan on the even number days, you get a male. If you do Garbhadan on the odd number days, that means 9th, 11th, 13th, like that, you get a daughter. But the closer you are to the contamination period, the more materialistic the son or daughter will be. Therefore, if someone wants a saintly son, then the recommendation is to wait until the 16th day. That means there has to be honesty and cooperation among the man and the wife, the husband and wife. Wait till the 16th day if you want a son, 15th day if you want a daughter. Saintly. This is the process, according to Garuda Purana, it is mentioned there, system. Then, Garbhadan is done. If conception is successful, then the lady's next period will not happen. That means that the lady's pregnant. From then on, during her pregnancy, there's no question of sex life on top of the fetus. That is a most sinful affair. Never to be done. There are special hells for such people who do like that. There's no question of contraceptives at any time. any kind of contraceptive. The principle is to beget a God-conscious child. Only when the child becomes a pure devotee, then the sex life that was done for the purpose of bringing that pure devotee into the world and back home, back to Godhead, for the benefit of the family and for the greater family ultimately, then only that sex life is counted as devotional service. If the child doesn't become a pure devotee, then it's just a waste of your invaluable human form of life. A total distraction from the pursuit of direct devotional service, pure devotional service. Then, after childbirth, at least 6 months to a year before, again, attempting Garbhadan. And then how many? So if you only bring 2 children in, if there's only 2 new arrivals, they call them, then that means, and you will not think to have 3, 4, 5, 10, how many you want. If you bring 2 children, if you bring 1 child into this world, it means that in the Grihastha ashram, you have sex only once. Unless she's barren. And then you should understand she's barren and give up the attempt, like a gentleman. Not that, oh, good, she's barren, therefore we can enjoy. Sadhu Jiva. That is Grihastha life. Anything short of that is Griyameti. And it means you will not get Krishna. You can fool yourself all you want. So, when this description was given by Srila Prabhupada in 1966 at 26 2nd Avenue, the same description I'm giving you, I'm not telling you anything different than what Prabhupada has told. Then our friend Brahmananda, why this is name is? He commented to Srila Prabhupada, what's the use? Better give up the whole thing. And Prabhupada answered, very good boy. You've understood. Just better give up the whole thing. No matter how you cut it. Spiritual life means no sex life. It is to be avoided at all cost. Grihastha Brahmachari means must control the senses. Tapasya. And the wife is supposed to cooperate to help the husband to control his senses. To remind him that, my dear sir, you're supposed to be a Grihastha Brahmachari. Nonsense. Fool number 1. Come into my clutches so that I can punch you in the face, rascal. Back off. And that is Brahmacharini. Otherwise, if you're not married, then there's definitely no excuse for not wearing kopans. Sadhu Jiva. If you're not married, it means that, unless you're fool number one, but a knowledgeable man sees all women, except for the wife, as mother. If you don't have a wife, it means you have to see all women as mother. And there's no question of thinking in terms of nefarious activities with your mother. What is this rascal doing? Therefore, brahmachari training. Otherwise, it's animal life. Human being, what distinguishes a human being from an animal is the human has knowledge. And he acts on knowledge. Until a human being has knowledge, he's not a human being. He's still an animal. He, she. So transcendental knowledge is required. And then acting on that knowledge. By transcendental knowledge, one gets spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence means you can evaluate what is actually valuable and what is not valuable. Na sato vidite bhavo, na bhavo vidite sataha. That which is temporary is not valuable. And that which is eternal, that which exists, temporary means non-existent. And what is the value? So many zeros. And what is existent has value. In other words, what is eternal, the spiritual principle, is valuable. And the material principle is not valuable. Therefore, ultimately, varnashram is not valuable. Because it is external, material things. It has very little value. What has value? What is valuable is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. Devotional service. Bhakti. Bhakti is valuable. Therefore, whether you're in the Grihastha ashram, whether you're in the Vanaprastha ashram, or Sannyasa ashram, or whatever, Brahmachari ashram, Sada Hari Bole. Perform Sankirtan. That is what's valuable. Nothing else is going to help us to transcend. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. That bhakti yogena sevate, service to the holy name. Sarva dharmam prityaja, give up all other dharmas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that a pure devotee should concern himself with the regulative principles of varnashram dharma as little as possible. As little as possible. And focus, turn your attention toward Krishna. Focus on pure devotional practices. Then there's hope. And in Kali Yuga, Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja means Kali Kali Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. Nam Ekam Sharanam Braja. It's a very simple thing. Simple for the simple. Where? Sharanam Braja. Preferably in the land of Braja. Why preferably in the land of Braja? Because Rupa Goswami said so, that's why. Rupa Goswami says that if possible, one should physically reside in Vrindavan. The second choice is if that's not possible, then one should mentally reside in Vrindavan, which is very, very difficult to do. Very presumptuous of neophyte people who are not on the platform of chanting Shuddhanam to think that they can recreate the Vrindavan atmosphere on the strength of their namabhas. or Bhakti Abbas. It is not Vrindavan, it is Vrindavan Bas, Abbas. And they're not doing Brajavas anywhere else in the world. Therefore, Shuddhanam Sankirtan. If you're doing Shuddhanam Sankirtan, then wherever you go in the world, you'll get the benefit of Brajavas. And others will also get the benefit of associating with the Shuddha Bhakta. So important. If we want to do the real thing, if we want to do sadhu jivan, real sadhu, what does sadhu mean? Sadhu means satam. Satam means satyam. Param satyam dhima. Meditating on the supreme absolute truth, Lord Shri Krishna. And Krishna's not alone. Krishna's with Radharani. And that is Sankirtan. Mam cha yogya vicharina bhakti yogena sevati sagunan samati taitan brahma bhuya kalpati. Otherwise, there's no question of coming to the spiritual platform and going back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. So what is that bhakti yogena sevati? It means nam ekam sharanam brajai. Nam eva ye prapadyante. Mayam etam turantite. Otherwise, there's no question of going beyond the influence of Maya. Whether you're, a deceitful, pretentious brahmachari, or a deceitful, pretentious sannyasi, or a deceitful, pretentious so-called grihastha, without rising above the influence of the three modes of material nature, what is your adhikar for discussing Radha Krishna Leela or any of these things? Therefore, in the beginning, from the beginning to the end, Nam Sankirtan is the most universally applicable aspect of pure devotional service. And by that Nam Sankirtan, one can easily cross beyond the influences of the material nature, which means, practically, it means to completely give up sex life and enter into the world of Krishna's sex life. Stop competing with Krishna. We have to give it up if we want to enter into the real world, Krishna's family life, in the realm of Braja. Are there any questions? Does it make sense? Do I sound like I'm being too fanatical and blunt in my dissertation? It's either birth and death or back home, back to Godhead. You make the choice. Simple as that. By entering into the Grihastha ashram, and every man should understand this, whether you've already entered or whether you are considering the idea, whatever it may be. By entering into the Grihastha ashram, one reduces his chances of going back home, back to Godhead by 75%. Now, what human being in his, her right mind would opt for that risk? Prabhupada said, don't mind, I'm going to hammer on this because it's my duty to hammer on it. Yasas don't like renunciates to come and speak too much. They would rather that I'm going to do a little kirtan and take some prasadam and Be on your way already. Back to Maya.
You were saying?
Giving up sex life. What was my point?
He said I'm going to hammer on something.
Yeah, what was the point? No. Don't distract me. About Grihasthas not liking to hear. Yes, thank you. Well, Prabhupada is told that in the Grihastha ashram, advancement in Krishna consciousness is virtually nil. Virtually nil. Virtually means almost, not quite nil, but almost as good as nil. And there's a reason for that. Because as long as you think you're the husband, or as long as you think there's any other husband than Krishna, there's no question of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Unless you're cultivating the Vatsalya bhav. Then maybe there's a you can say a therapeutic way out. But advancing in Krishna consciousness means to realize our eternal constitutional relationship with Krishna. Our eternal constitutional relationship with Krishna has nothing to do with playing husband in the material world, please. So as long as that egoism is still there, even slightly, then one is forfeiting the opportunity. That's why also Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that unless one attains bhava, then if one was a grihastha previously and becomes vanaprastha, then before one can accept sannyas, one must attain bhava. If one accepts the sannyas order before attaining the bhava platform, it is considered as illegal, unlawful. Why? Because unless one is completely absorbed, unless one has done the work of engagement in devotional service to the degree required for entering into the perfect realization of one's eternal constitutional sthai-bhav, then there's every chance of again falling down on account of impure reminiscences of one's previous life of sense gratification in the Grihastha ashram. So it doesn't mean that you have to take sannyas before you attain bhava. You have to attain bhava before you take sannyas. And in Kali Yuga, that basically applies to everyone. Because everyone is so much contaminated by so many horrific purva samskars. Because the association, the influence of the materialist society and all these things is glaring you in the face 24 hours a day, unless you're like Aindra Baba, who locks himself in his room and doesn't come out, except for maybe once a day. to see the deed. Yes. First of all, before we can enter into that discussion, I think it's important that we have a room full of men who are wearing kopans. Can I discuss the different types of bhava? First deserve, then desire. Wear your kopans, and then we'll discuss. Higher subject matters. Yes, Mataji.
Could you say something about Purushottam, how to follow the vrata, because it's coming soon?
It's better that we just make copies of the thing and distribute it.
There's some recording you're talking about it. There are some reports.
Yeah, there's
The first vow for all of our is to wear kopans. For the pleasure of Radharani. What does kopan mean? Make it flat. Go back to your feminine nature. That's what kopan means. Revert to your feminine nature. Give up your so-called masculinity. Realize that you're eternally female. You're not that so-called male ego. You know. That is kopan. Krishna's the male. And even he wears kopans. Grihastas are also supposed to wear kopan. And in Vedic culture, Grihasta wears red kopan, saffron kopan. Why? To reduce sex agitation by 50%, so that he can be a Grihasta Brahmacharya. Otherwise, popped out Grihasta. What is the value of the thing? Pacha Grihasta. Rotten Grihasta. Grihasta must wear kopans. And if you're not wearing kopans, it simply means you've not had proper brahmachari training.
Please don't get angry, but they do say that in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, I believe that maybe 5% is
Maybe.
there's something about wearing boxer shorts or something.
If you want to be a Pacha Grihasta, then that's the Pacha.
Okay.
Pacha
What's that?
means rotten. If you want to be a broken man, you want to remain crippled. That's the other point I was going to make. Another Prabhupada said is written in his one purport in Srimad Bhagavatam. He says that one must give up the crippled life of the Grihastha ashram by the age of 50, if not sooner. Crippled life. Why crippled? Because the wife is like a crutch. So at a certain point, you have to leave aside the crutch and walk again on the strength of your own determination. And when the wife sees you doing that, then she should feel gratified that she's done her service. And then support from behind. Support his sannyas. Then the wife gets 50% of the advancement of that sannyasi. Because he's still her husband, but he's in the sannyas order. So the wife has to support the sannyas by not directly, but indirectly giving her energy from behind, praying for his ultimate progress to the perfectional stage. And because she's supporting his sannyas, then she continues to share, as the wife, she continues to share in his advancement to the perfectional stage. 50%. Not that, oh, he's taken sannyas, now I got to look for another Mayic form of a so-called husband. Because that one wasn't good enough. No Mayic form of a so-called husband is ever going to be good enough. Because no Mayic form of a so-called husband is Krishna. It never worked. It never will work. No woman in this material world has ever been satisfied by having a so-called husband. It doesn't work. Because he's not fit to be a husband. Because he's not male. Simple as that. Once you start to understand this philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and this is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, then you start to make a little advancement. You start to realize that, wait a minute, why am I focusing on this so-called husband? Why am I pretending to be a so-called husband? Better to surrender to Krishna. Give up the chase. Let Krishna be the husband. From either side. The man says, let Krishna be the husband. And the woman says, let Krishna be the husband. Because he's the only one worthy of my total surrender and absolute deference. Because he's my only bhota. I have no other bhota. I am his bhoga. And I meant to cultivate that bhav. If you can go directly without all the horrific, argumentation ad infinitum in the Grihastha ashram, then you're miles ahead. So if you can do it like this, why do it like that nonsense? So I'm trying to encourage you to do it like that. Just go to Krishna. That's the ultimate understanding that you're supposed to get out of the whole affair anyway. So why not take it from Guru Parampara? Take it. Krishna's your husband. Do you think the gopis were interested in having any other husband? They were not. They didn't care a fig for their husbands. And that those who did, because they were still having some anarthas, residues of anarthas arising from namaparad. What is namaparad? The 10th aparad. Maintaining material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. those gopis who still maintain some material attachments to their so-called Patni Dharma, what happened? They were locked in their rooms and not allowed to go to Rasa Leela until they realized their mistake. Finally, realized their mistake. That they had a choice between Maya and Krishna, and they chose Maya. And again, they had to suffer. But then their failure became a pillar to their success. That is Vaishnava. So whether you've, failed in your brahmachari ashram, and, then let it become the pillar to your success. Gopalji.
I went open.
Didn't do you much good. You're also supposed to wear copins in your mind. Put copins on the mind. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Is the prasadam offered yet?
Kesava has a question.
Is it offered or what? The prasad is offered? Did they like it?
Yes, the line for me.
I hope you liked it. Hare Krishna. Jagyai Sankirtana Praya Yujanti Hi Sumedasaha. Sumedasaha means good brain substance. So regardless of where you're at, in your conditional existence, there's one absolute dharma. There's conditional dharmas and absolute dharma. If they run parallel, then all right for now, well and good. But if they diverge in any way, then you have to renounce your conditional dharma, sarva dharma, pratyaja, and only one constitutional dharma, jagyai sankirtana prayar, yujanti hi sumedasa. If you have good brain substance, you realize that is your dharma. That's your only dharma. There's no other dharma in Kali Yuga. There's only one dharma. Those who understand that, they make good progress in Krishna consciousness. And those who have every reason in the book why they shouldn't surrender to this point, you have your wife to play kartals. You have your son to play the milanga. And you have your etc., etc. Then it's useful. Otherwise, it's a joke, a complete distraction, waste of human form of life. Okay, it's getting late. It's almost 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 10 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
Yes.
It's
10.
10, 5.
You have to go for Mangalar.
Well, I'm always up for Mangalarti. So shall we take some prasadam? Is there some prasadam for everyone? So let's take some prasadam. Haribol. With Hare Krishna between each bite. That's the way we were trained. Does everyone do like that? The way we were trained when I first joined the movement, I joined in 1973, and we would chant Hare Krishna between each bite of prasad. Not, good food, good sweet, good God, let's eat. Woof, woof, woof. All right, Jeev Jago. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
About prasadam?
No. What are this bigger potency to clean our consciousness, Krishna Katha or Hari Kirtan?
Kirtan.
And following question. When I listen to Hari Katha from someone, I can much easier judge the level of the person. Because whatever is in the mind, he's speaking. But who is singing, there is good singer. So I don't know what is that.
No. Kirtan means kirtan. It doesn't mean kirtan abbas. If someone's pure and he's doing Nam Sankirtan and you're associating, then that is the best form of sadhu sangha. Then your sadhu sangha is complete. But of course, what is philosophy for? Ultimately, philosophy is to convince you to take shelter of the holy need by performing Nam Sankirtan. That's the purpose of the philosophy. Philosophy is to help you to give shape to your Nam Bhajan. Philosophy is to convince you that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, his name, being non-different from himself, is worthy of your service and surrender. That is the purpose of Bhagavad philosophy, and that is the Bhagavad Siddhanta.
So even now, just by this philosophy, you convince me to chanting. But
Yes.
by only chanting will not convince me.
No. So both are required. No one's saying that you shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that if you philosophize and philosophize and philosophize, but you don't come to the point of understanding the need to surrender to the holy name, then all your philosophy is useless. Then your philosophy is just another form of what do you call it? Kali Yuga mental masturbation. Don't mind. It's my duty to be blunt sometimes. It's true. So we're not interested in philosophy. We're interested in philosophy that actually leads to the siddha anta, the ultimate conclusion. The ultimate conclusion is that in Kali Yuga, kalo nasteva. There's no other way. Hare Nam eva, certainly, kevalam, only, exclusively, no other way. Only Harinam. And if philosophy doesn't help you to come to that conclusion and realize the need to take full shelter of the holy name of Krishna, then your philosophy is not philosophy at all. It's called material calculation. It's another form of mental sense gratification, subtle sense gratification, philosophizing and philosophizing. For what? To show how big of a philosopher we are? So sadhu sangha is, there are various ways. If someone's a sadhu and is dressing the deities, then when you take darshan of the deities, you're going to see something different. If you're a little perceptive, if you're a little awake, you're going to see a difference between the way a sadhu dresses the deities and the way some Griyamedi dresses the deities. Because the deity is going to reciprocate with the sadhu in a way that he's not going to reciprocate. Similarly, if you hear Bhagavad Katha, there's 5 main angas of devotional service: Vrajavas, Bhagavad Shravan, Sadhu Sangha, Srimurti Shraddhaya Seva, and Nam Sankirtan. Of the 5 types of devotional service, Nam Sankirtan is supreme. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he discusses this point. He says that the four other than Nam Sankirtan, these four other can not be complete unless they are coupled with Nam Sankirtan. And they become complete when they are coupled with Nam Sankirtan. Vrajabhas is only useful or completely useful, maybe useful on one level or another. We can't say that, taking darshan of the deities is not useful. Some benefit will be there, but you will not get the complete benefit. You will not get the complete benefit from sadhu sangha if it doesn't culminate in the performance of Nam Sankirtan. You will not get the complete benefit of Bhagavad Shravan if by hearing the Bhagavad you don't become convinced to take shelter of Nam Sankirtan. So sadhu sangha means associating with satam. Who is satam? Okay, satam appears in the form of the deity, satam appears in the form of the Bhagavad, but primarily in Kali Yuga, satam appears in the form of Krishna Nam, Harinam. That is the most accessible and the most powerful, facility for associating with the Supreme Truth. If who's chanting is chanting Shuddhanam. If he's not chanting Shuddhanam, then you're not associating with the Supreme Truth. Therefore, one should, as far as possible, hear the holy name from the lips of a pure devotee. Otherwise, it may be lips, poisonous, milk touched by the lips of a serpent. So-called Sankirtan, not Sankirtan at all. It's poison. Sex kirtan. Subtle sex kirtan. What's your question? Prophet adoration distinction kirtan. That is not Sankirtan. That is Shobhani. And you're not going to get much from that. You'll get bhukti from that. Nadanam, Naja, Nasund. That is the symptom of someone who is chanting Shuddhanam. It means that he has Nam Ruchi, Shuddhanam Ruchi. Aparada Guchi, Shuddhanam Ruchi. There's no Ruchi if there's no Shuddhanam. Shuddhanam Ruchi. Ruchi only comes when Shuddhanam is there. Because Harinam is Rasavaisaha, something to taste. Otherwise it's Ruchi Abhas. They're just like there's Rati Abhas, there's Ruchi Abhas, there's Shraddha Abhas. There cannot be Ruchi if there's not real Shraddha. Shraddha means to accept those things which are favorable. There's no difference between Shraddha and Sharanagati. Without Sharanagati, there's no Shraddha. To accept that Krishna is your only protector, to accept, to be completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna. And that means to perform jagya for the satisfaction of Krishna without any ulterior motives. Anyabhilasita shunya. Have no separate, Anyabhilasita shunya means to have no separate interest in the interest of Krishna. That is Sharanagati. And that's a symptom of Shraddha. So when Shuddha Bhakti is there, then you're associating with the real sadhu. There's no question of Shuddha Bhakti being there, because Shraddha is just the basis of Bhakti. Shraddha is not an anga of Bhakti. Shraddha is the softened heart, you can say the tilled soil in which to plant the seed. It is the beginning. The seed is planted in the softened heart, and then comes the beginning, the germination of the Bhakti Lata, beginning from a small little shoot, and then coming with some leaves, and then some flowers, and then a green fruit, and then the ripe fruit of prema. But if the prema seed is not there, then you're not going to get the prema fruit. So therefore, someone has to have the prema seed. How can he get the prema seed if he's not associating with someone who's giving the prema seed? If he's giving something other than the prema seed, if you have a mango seed, then you can get a mango tree. If he's giving you a pumpkin seed, then how are you going to get a mango tree? You may get a pumpkin, but you're not going to get a mango, the king of all fruits. It's not that you'll get nothing, but you'll only get the real thing if you're associating with real sadhus.
So in the end, you can say that it doesn't matter if this is Katha or this is Kirtan. This is important by whom is spoken as.
The Katha has to culminate in your understanding of the need to engage along with real sadhus in the process of Nam Sankirtan, because Nam Sankirtan is the process by which you get prema in Kali Yuga. Katha alone is insufficient. But Nam Sankirtan alone is sufficient. It will come if you're hearing from a sadhu. If you're doing Nam Sankirtan in the association of genuine sadhus, in which the Shuddhanam is there, if you actually get a chance to hear Shuddhanam, then it will be complete on its own. No other anga of devotional service is complete without Sankirtan. But Sankirtan, by performing Sankirtan, even if you perform no other anga of devotional service, of course, how can you perform Sankirtan without doing Sadhu Sangha? It's just another form of Sadhu Sangha. But it's the best form of Sadhu Sangha. And you will get everything. You'll get the benefit of all things. Sadhu Sangha, Srimurti Shradaya Seva. Bhagavad Kathamrita. You'll get all these things. Simply by doing Nam Sankirtana. Don't argue. Just do it. Have you done it? How many hours of Nam Sankirtan in association of Shuddha Bhaktas have you done? How many hours a day do you do Nam Sankirtan? Any 1 hour? 2 hours? 5 hours? 10 hours? How many hours? Every day, performing Nam Sankirtan. Answer or no answer, you can understand where you're at. If you've not actually surrendered to that principle, then how are you going to realize the truth in the principle? All the acharyas say that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that. Srila Prabhupada also says that. Prabhupada's not teaching something different than what all the previous acharyas have taught. Prabhupada has said, what has Prabhupada said? That I'm straining my brain to find things for you to do. Why? Because you don't have a taste for chanting the holy name. Prabhupada said like that. I've personally seen it. Prabhupada said that actually our only real business is to sit in the holy dham and constantly chant the holy name. But because you have no taste for that, therefore I'm pushing you to do other engagements like opening temples and so many other activities in Krishna consciousness. Because you have no taste for doing the real thing. For doing our most important business. You have no taste for it. Why do you have no taste? Because you don't do it. How do you expect to get taste for something that you don't do? Jaundice like tongue. Does that answer your question? Anyway, close enough for starters. I don't think we can ask your question. You've asked so many questions lately, and I'm going to pass this question and assemble everyone for Prasad. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
You gonna answer it?
Which,
No? No.
no.
Did
It's getting later and later. It's time
I
to.
beg you, please, if you can listen. If I can give you a single tomorrow, will you burn it at me?